Alrighty. Today we're going to do a Samsung Galaxy S Epic. I think that's what it's called, Galaxy Epic. It's in perfectly good shape, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like to be taken apart. Okay, and I'm also going to walk you through some diagnosing steps today. So somebody comes in with a phone that's like this, and something's wrong with it. The number one step to diagnosing it is a process of elimination, figuring out what could and what could not be the problem. For example, if they plug the phone in and it's not charging, then it's safe to assume that the screen has nothing to do with the problem. So we begin to eliminate the things that it couldn't be until we narrow down the things that it could be. For example, a bad charging port, a bad motherboard, a bad battery, etc. And then we test those three things until we find out what the culprit or culprits are or is. So let's begin with this one, okay? So perfectly normal Galaxy Epic from Sprint. I'm going to take it apart. So once again, we're going to start by removing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws on the outside, and then 1, 2 on the inside where the battery is. Okay, so let's go. And I know this button already fell out, but you're going to pry open and notice that even though the screws aren't completely out, as long as they're loosened, you can remove the back shell. I like to call it the back shell, like this. Okay, I'm going to put that here. And this is the head jack. But this one actually did have a head jack issue, and now we know why, because it's supposed to be inside here, right, connected to the motherboard with this flex, but it was disconnected like this, so that would explain why the head jack wasn't working this whole time. Okay, so this is the motherboard, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect this flex cable, which is the LCD. Let's disconnect that. We're going to disconnect that, which I believe is the camera, front camera at least. And then we're going to disconnect this antenna. Now we have the motherboard separate. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and reconnect via flex cable this head jack. Okay. There we go. That's how the older phones are. And there's a charging port. We can always do soldering on the charge port right there. Sorry, that's the back camera. And here's the chips, like the processors. See a whole bunch of circuitry going on here. So we'll get to that in the later part of this course, how to fix or take care of the circuitry. We're going to be using multimeters and stuff like that, but right now just understand that this is where all this stuff happens. This is the brain. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove these two screws right here. And once again, this is what diagnosis is all about. Breaking it down until there's only the components left. So once you determine what the only possible issues could be with process of elimination, like I explained, then the step 2 is you break it down by component and make sure everything is connected or is proper, and if it's not, then you fix those components until and you keep replacing the specific components until you figure out what the problem was. That is basically cell phone diagnosis in a nutshell. I'm going to remove this antenna, which also connects it to the loudspeaker, by the way. So if he can't hear his phone ring, if it doesn't ring, if there's no loudspeaker, that's what needs to be changed. Keep in mind that even if all the physical aspects are right, there could be hardware or firmware issues, or I'm sorry, there could be firmware or software issues as well. A bad ROM, a virus, all these things can prevent issues as well. So you have to really use process elimination. What I like to do is make sure the software is correct first by reinstalling a ROM, doing a master reset, and doing all those first to make sure it still doesn't work. And if it still doesn't work, whatever it is that's not working, then we can begin to take it apart physically. Alright, so after we remove those two screws, we're going to take this back piece off, which has connected to it a microphone, the slide out keypad, which connects via a flex cable right here. I know I said that's the might be a camera flex, but I was wrong. But it turns out to be the keyboard flex right here. So if his keyboard isn't working, which looks like it's also connected to a either power button or a camera button, one of those right here. So I'm assuming it's going to be a power button. So any of those issues that I just mentioned, we obviously need to switch out this flex, which connects all here. So we're going to place that right here. And then finally we are going to, move that keypad out, put it right here. We're going to remove 4 more screws. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So let's go ahead and do that to separate the LCD.
Oh, I read this morning. I had to read the whole roll.
Alrighty. So we removed the 4 screws, and in order to do that I had to lift it up a little bit. It's very flexible, this piece of plastic. I really think if I pushed it hard enough I could get it completely open, but I'm not going to try that. So I had to remove this screw right here as well, and then these 2 screws. And the reason why we did that was because we wanted to separate the LCD. You can use a knife. These older phones, like before the Galaxy S3, have pretty, actually surprisingly strong housings. So as long as you don't cut a flex cable while you're opening it up, you shouldn't have any issues. So in order to separate it completely, you have to open this up, and then get it right just like that, and then it separates. Okay, so now you have the LCD. And there's a whole bunch of flexes here. There's the front camera flex there earlier that I was talking that I was mistaken about. That's the front camera, the proximity sensor flex. That's the front speaker flex, and they all connect here to like this mother flex right here that also connects to the LCD and the digitizer as well. LCD, digitizer, they all connect to here, and then that transfers over to the motherboard here, which also is connectable via the keypad at here as well. So it's a pretty complex phone, but that's the disassembly of it. Okay, and that's it.